Welcome to another Point of View. This is Pastor Josh Barnes, and this is the episode of the week where I get rid of my brothers and I get to go all by myself. Actually, I'm not going to be by myself today because this is our spotlight episode. This is the show where we bring on someone else who also has a Christian worldview, or actually, I'm open to bring on someone who's not a Christian and go back and forth with them about it. But today we have a really amazing interview lined up for you. It is Joeylynn. This is a lady who was part of a Trump train. Basically, they jumped into a bunch of cars with Trump logos and everything back at the election time and were driving around town and happened upon the Biden campaign bus, which Biden and Kamala Harris were not in. But they drove alongside of the Biden campaign bus, flying their flags and everything. Well, now they're being called racist, actually. They're being sued under the KKK laws for trying to inhibit voters by driving beside the Biden campaign bus with their intimidating Trump flags. This is just, of course, has been the playbook for the left when it comes to Trump supporters. They're racist, they're evil, they want to suppress black votes. But who ended up suppressing votes in the election? Of course, it was not Trump. It was the Biden side. Anyway, the point is here that that this lady is being sued, and now she's actually going to be the next host on Right America Media. She's going to be a brand new host, hosting her own show, and we're all looking forward to it, excited about it. Should be here in the next several weeks. But in the meantime, I wanted to introduce you to her story, and let you know how you can help her if it's something that you can possibly do. Without further ado, here is Joeylynn. I am joined now by Joeylynn, who is in Texas and a much warmer part of the country than I am in at this moment. Joeylynn, thank you for joining us on Point of View today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be a guest.
Yes, and we're excited to have you. I have lots of questions for you, but let's start with this. What is your opinion of the current president of the United States?
I'm going to quote something that I heard said earlier this week. It's that you should eat your vegetables and not elect them for president. So I don't have a lot of confidence in who's sitting in the fake White House right now. Not thrilled about it.
Right. Now okay. Now let's get into a little backstory. So just so everyone knows, Joeylynn, you are really you have a little bit of a target painted on your back from the administration. They're going after you personally. Explain why and what's happening.
Yes. So you and your viewers may remember in 2020 during the early election, the Biden-Harris campaign bus drove through Texas, and there was a Trump train that escorted the bus through Texas, as what mainstream media was picking up the story as. We were merely just driving alongside the bus, exercising free speech for President Trump, our candidate of choice at that time, really in the same capacity that the bus was. We all had that signage as we drove down the road. Yet it resulted in a massive federal lawsuit. We're getting sued under the Ku Klux Klan law of 1871 for what Biden-Harris campaign staff and Democrat politicians claim was that our intent was to band together on a public highway to suppress minority voter rights. They also claim we premeditated assault. There are no criminal charges. They want financial compensation for being traumatized, triggered, offended that we existed in the same space as them. And so, me being a stay-at-home mom, going up against multiple Democrat politicians and influencers because they want financial compensation. It's kind of crazy. This, to me, is the definition of a tyrannical government or overreach. They're abusing the law system against average Americans to bankrupt us in an attempt to chill free speech. And so we have the joy of defending free speech.
Yeah. Okay. I know there's so much more to say here, and I want to get into all of it. But let's put on the brakes for someone who's unfamiliar. what is a Trump train?
Okay, so during Trump's campaign, there were groups of conservative or Trump supporters that would put American flags, Trump flags, or maybe like the come and take it flag on their vehicle, and they'd parade around through town. It was a really fun time to join together with other like-minded conservatives and exercise free speech, especially if you are the working class and don't necessarily have the money to put into Trump's campaign, but you want to encourage others to get involved politically or to get excited about politics. It was such a fun way to exercise our First Amendment right.
So if I'm understanding this right, you have a group of cars that are all decked out in Trump flags and Trump signs and Trump whatever, and you drove up alongside of the Biden what would it be called, the
It was the
entourage?
campaign. Yeah, it was a campaign bus. Entourage is a strong word. There was one bus and one car following behind it.
Okay.
Our Trump train in New Braunfels had 4,000 members. Certainly had a much larger turnout than
So
the
this was
Biden.
before. Okay, all right. Hold on. Hold the phone. So this was before. I'm getting my timelines mixed. This is before he was elected president. He was just
Yeah,
campaigning.
yeah. This was during campaign, and then there was not Biden or Harris on the bus. It was actually a former Texas state senator who was part of the campaign team that was making stops, and then the bus driver and a couple of other campaign staffers. And then I'm not sure if he was in a vehicle following the bus or if he was in the bus, but there is an influencer, an author, and all of those people are suing us. So we've got 5 plaintiffs listed on the lawsuit.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you try to run the bus off the road? Was there anything actually illegal involved here?
No. So we did not try to run the bus off the road. That would be completely insane. The bus is massive. Our vehicle is my husband's baby. He would never do that. But no, we were merely exercising free speech. Although that's the picture that mainstream media paints for their viewers. And then the viewers really believe that and are fueled with hate and rage towards us. We've received thousands of messages wishing us to die, rot in jail, calling us Ku Klux Klan terrorists, Klans people, white supremacists, um, because they're reading these headlines that say Trump train, ran the bus off the road or tried to run the bus off the road. The bus was never, ever obstructed. It drove hundreds of miles through Texas that day. The police in our local area actually responded and said they didn't find anything out of order when the occupants of the bus called the police. They claim that we brandished weapons, we yelled hate speech, we tried to run them off the road. Those things did not happen. We have plenty of video footage to defend ourselves. The problem is that we have to do that. And so it's very costly for us to go through the court process to say, hey, these are malicious lies.
Yeah, whatever happened to being innocent until it's proven that you're guilty? You would think that the people who are making the lawsuit have to prove that you brandished weapons, not they say you did and you have to prove that you didn't. That sounds is this case pretty much being laughed out of court, or is it being taken seriously? Because it sounds like it shouldn't be taken seriously.
All along we thought that it would, right? Like, this is just for publicity. This isn't going anywhere. Like, a judge is going to take one look at this and laugh. Unfortunately, the judge that we're assigned to is the same judge that overturned the heartbeat bill in Texas a couple of months ago when we passed the new law banning
Great.
abortions, and the Department of Justice sued the state of Texas. The lawsuit was assigned to this judge. He said it was unconstitutional to tell women that they could not have an abortion, where the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals struck that decision down, and it appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States. We expect to take that same trajectory through the court system. This is a judge that was appointed to federal court by Obama. And although there's not supposed to be a lot of bias when we follow him and his rulings, it appears to be that there is. So I don't have a lot of hope at this level, but the appellate court in the Fifth Circuit is one of the strongest conservative courts at the federal level. So, I have some confidence there, but I wouldn't be surprised if we end up in the Supreme Court.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're ready to go all the way. Okay. Tell me about you personally, your family, how you're taking this from a faith perspective. We were talking about this earlier, and you're a believer in Jesus Christ. You have that Christian worldview, as far as I understand. how does that affect how you're taking this and how you're dealing with this? Because this is admittedly probably a very trying time for you.
This is probably the most trying time of my entire life. And thank God that I have Jesus Christ as my, rock, my cornerstone, my foundation. That is the one thing I have that they don't, right? Like they may have all the money, all the mainstream media, all the power. I've got Jesus Christ on my side. And so, when we first found out about it, it was staggering because we were not served paperwork. We heard about it from a friend that heard about it on CNN. Then we got to Google our names and find that all over the internet, international news, that we were getting sued. And it took 4 weeks before we were actually served to understand the scope of the lawsuit and what was actually going on, what they wanted, and so on and so forth. And so it was a very dark time waiting for that, where we were confused, stressed out, scared, depressed, didn't want to go out, didn't want to get out of bed. And I was forcing myself at that time to read the Bible. I just had no energy. It was this dark cloud that was over me, trying to just take care of basic domestic tasks was complicated just because I felt like I had sand in my bones from the worry. And then I was just really surprised to find how specifically the Bible was speaking to this season of our life. I was reading in Matthew about how you will go before the courts, but take heart because this is your chance to speak to unbelievers. And don't worry about what you're going to say because God will be there to give you the words. Or, I was telling my husband, while I read Psalms, it feels like when David would say he was getting attacked, he was hemmed in from all sides and, people were making up lies about him. Wow, like that was really happening to me. And it just felt like it shifted from being this huge curse to this huge blessing where possibly God called us for something awesome. And a gentleman, I had never seen this man a day in my life. I went to a conservative meeting to try to encourage myself by being around other people. And this man came up to me and said, I have a word from the Lord for you. Are you ready to receive it? And I had some friends with me who were like, this is weird. We got to go. And I was like, y'all go. I got to hear what this guy has to say. Like, y'all go. And he said, did you not pray, Lord, here I am, send me, use me? He said, you have been chosen by God for this, and the victory is already yours. You just have to walk through and receive it. Man, oh man, that changed my complete perspective. I felt like it is my honor and my privilege to fight this fight to defend free speech for my son, for the kingdom of heaven, for our fellow Americans. I love being ungovernable and not complying. This is like a whole nother level because it's for the glory of God. And, it's overwhelming and it's intimidating, but I immediately refresh myself with what Jesus has to say about me. And that's where my value and my worth is. So it takes work constantly because it's easy to get sucked back into the negative things people say. But when I really focus on what God has to say, how can I not be encouraged?
Yeah. That's amazing. It's pretty fascinating to see the difference between a true believer with a Christian worldview and how they respond to difficulty and trouble versus someone in the world like this driver of a bus who feels that he was so oppressed because someone who disagreed with him happened to be driving down the road next to him, which is actually sadly just normal in America today. If the idea that someone would have to drive next to someone they disagree with is just outrageous. Like, how dare you? How dare you disagree with me and be in the same space? But you know what? It reminds me of the story of the man who was filled with demons in the Bible. And he had the legion, thousands of demons. And Jesus cast out the demons. The demons asked Jesus, hey, can we go into the pigs? Jesus says yes. The people of the country find out about this. They go and ask Jesus, hey, can you please leave? And he says yes. He leaves. But when the guy who Jesus had rescued asked Jesus, hey, can I go with you? Jesus says no. I mean, and now this guy has this choice. He's either going to, get really discouraged and say, boy, this isn't going the way I thought, or he's just going to live for Christ. And he did. He went out and he started living for Christ the way that Christ asked him to, even though it wasn't his plan. And it's so cool to see how God sort of put you in a place that wasn't really the way you wanted to serve him.
Man, oh
That
man, if that
that's
is not the
awesome.
truth. He really did. And that's so funny, right? Because I can think of years that I have prayed that prayer. I've also prayed it for my husband. God, use my husband, like inspire him with purpose. And so I'm like, oh man, honey, I prayed you into this with me. I am so sorry about that.
It's all your fault.
You know, but we were walking into the grocery store shortly after we found out about this lawsuit. We still did not have a lot of clarity. And my husband said, when this is all over, we are going to help other people who are just like us. And so since then, well, that's actually when I realized it was all coming together. Oh, I did pray for this. This is him finding that purpose, right? Like it's just more affirmation. But we are filing for dismissal of this lawsuit. We don't expect it to get dismissed right away, though we are claiming victory. So at the point that it is dismissed or we do win in whatever capacity that is, we will file for sanctions to reimburse us for our legal fees, which we're fundraising for currently. And we want to start a fund where we help other Americans defend their constitutional rights. Financially, it's been so difficult. We have had to raise, well, we're trying to raise $200,000 just for our legal defense. This isn't what they're asking for compensation wise. This is just to defend ourselves at this federal level. And so we cashed out our 401k. We retained our attorney. We're out about $30,000 of just paperwork. We haven't even gone to trial. And so we're fundraising the difference to try to equip ourselves to fight this fight. But we know where that money's going to end up, and it's going to be helping other Americans. Praise God.
Yeah, that's something that I definitely want to get to our viewers if they want to help out with that or find out more about that, spread the word about it. Before we get to that, though, I have another question for you. How do you feel about Joe Biden, who, whether he was elected or not, is the president now? And he wasn't obviously when this all happened, but this same campaign that is going after you using KKK laws, essentially calling you a racist, has now said that he's going to be picking the next Supreme Court justice solely on the basis of their race and gender.
Yeah.
How do you feel about being called a racist from someone who's said from the podium, I'm going to be racist about my Supreme Court justice pick?
Yeah. It's infuriating. It's a special kind of a insult, to be labeled that way and in such a way that the defamation will carry with us through our lifetime. My husband's trade, if you Google his name, this lawsuit, the KKK stuff comes up. And, and that is exactly it. This is a party of hypocrisy, of gaslighting. They are saying everybody else is doing what they are actually doing. They're deflecting the responsibility, pointing fingers. It's a smoke and mirrors act while they do it themselves. You may know, your viewers may not, maybe they do. The Ku Klux Klan law was actually put in place by the Republican Party to protect people of color and Republicans helping people of color vote, work, go to school, because the Democrats were the Ku Klux Klan, and they were killing people, hanging people, Republicans, white or black, for trying to help people of color to be independent. And so the Ku Klux Klan law was put into place to hold the Ku Klux Klan accountable for those actions. And so for the Democrat Party to be suing Republicans under the Ku Klux Klan law is the biggest, it's the biggest. Oh, they flip history and they love to do that. Yeah. But for him to be selecting a Supreme Court justice based on skin color is appalling. That level of responsibility, the highest federal court, to be solely based on appearance. I was just talking to a friend about this morning. Can you imagine picking a doctor? I want the best looking doctor in the room. And then that doctor doesn't know how to perform the heart surgery that you need. Wouldn't you want the most qualified person to do the job, regardless of what they look like? Close your eyes and listen to what qualifies them. It's crazy that we're just 100% gone back to complete racism and segregation in a variety of areas in our country right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. So anyway, so you're using this thing that appeared at first to be an oppression, a bad thing, right? That's come into your life, and you're using this as really as a platform. I know you're on TikTok. You are soon, I hope I'm not giving anything away, soon to be on Right America Media, and not just as a guest. So we're actually giving a sneak peek to everybody that she will be soon part of a show on Right American Media, steady, right? So you're using this as just an opportunity to get a platform out there and to let your voice be heard on these issues. Do you think that it's going to have an effect? Do you think God has a plan for all of this?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I know God has a plan for this. And I think it's such a cool opportunity to be a part of history. Whether I'm remembered or not, I know that I'm going to get to impact it. And I believe every single American has that opportunity right now because so many of us expected Trump to fix all of our problems or the president being one person. But, there's 80 million of us. And if each one of us do something epic in our neighborhood, in our family, in our church, in our school, we have such an impact in our nation right now. And so I think that at the level this lawsuit is at, I probably get to do something cooler than just in my own immediate neighborhood. I think that it might get to actually be something a little bit bigger. I really don't know. I would love for it to be. I love connecting with people and encouraging people. So I would love to see God use me that way. But, just even if I had a show on Right American Media with just a few followers and they loved getting their news from me and the other ladies on the show with me, like, what a cool place to be a year later, right? Like, I wouldn't have ever expected this. I never would have pursued this. This wouldn't have been something that was of interest to me. But God has called me into politics. That was very clear in 2020. And people were telling me, don't do that. Politics are horrible. Don't get involved in politics. Like, you'll lose all your friends. You'll upset everybody. Don't do that. And I was like, I was on, head first. Like, I couldn't stop. And so I just feel like God called me straight into it. So I know something really cool is going to come from it. And I can't wait to see it unfold as it is. I've already gotten to meet people like Kayleigh McEnany. And, it's just, this lawsuit has brought me to some really incredible people to get to share my story. And I wouldn't change it for the world.
That is so awesome. And just a little plug for RAM. RAM is pretty awesome. I mean, we have all sorts of different kinds of people. We have I think as many or maybe more ladies than we have men. I mean, we're very diverse, right? We're the whole organization was started by a Hispanic gentleman. I mean, this is just we just all sorts of people from all sorts of different walks of life and from all sorts of part of the country, whether it's the far north or the far south. Wherever it is, people want to see America made right again, and that's awesome. So tell us what can we do? How can people find the information that you're putting out there? How can people connect with you, whether it be on TikTok or online? What can they do to help?
Yes. So thank you for asking. I also want to say how much I love Bram and how you're right. Bram is so diverse. Juan is so awesome. Juan found me on TikTok, which brought me to you and brought me to the potential for having my own show with some other ladies. And he has taken us under his wing and encouraged us when we get the hate mail. And, he has just been kind of like a very close friend. And for us just to have met him, it's just been really an incredible friendship. And so one of the many areas that we're blessed. If people would like to follow us, I'm so grateful for that. We cannot get this story to pick up any traction. Mainstream media has run with it and slandered us. Conservative media has been fairly quiet. So I'm so grateful for you to give us this platform to talk about it, and would encourage your viewers to maybe have conversations around their table or talk to their neighbors and friends. I have created a website, and my Instagram and TikTok are all the same. It's Free for Freedom's Sake, which I know is a mouthful, and I'm sorry. It was just so important to me. It's based on Galatians 5:1. We've been set free for freedom's sake, not to go back to a yoke of slavery. And I'm all about living in our freedom as Americans. So that's free, Free, for FOR, freedoms with an S, sake, SAKE. freeforfreedomssake.com. That's my handle on Instagram. That's my handle on TikTok. And on our website, there's a link to our fundraiser, or you can go to the fundraiser directly. It's through a Christian crowdsourced funding, Give, Send, Go, givesendgo.com/Mesaros, which is our last name, Mesaros.
Yeah. And Give, Send, Go, by the way, is a great organization. I've interviewed them as well, and they're great conservative organization that helps out cases that other organizations won't help out. And so I'm glad that you're getting help. Go help them out, guys. If it's a couple bucks, whatever you can do, go watch her stuff on TikTok. Help share that, get that out, get the word out, and let people know what's going on here. Look, we can either let the mainstream media set the tone and decide what stories are important to us, or we can decide what stories are important, and the mainstream media can get on board if they want or not. We don't really care.
I love it so much. I agree.
Joeylynn, thank you so much for joining us on Point of View today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless Texas.
Honestly, I was really encouraged by my conversation with Joeylynn. We talked both on the camera, but in front of the camera and off camera, and she was a pleasure to speak with. Her optimism, I can understand. I can understand. She's excited about Donald Trump. She wants him to win. She sees the Biden campaign bus. She goes and waves her flags next to it, drives alongside of it for a while. I get that. Like, that makes sense to me. I can understand getting excited and doing that. And then to be sued over this and to have all of this nonsense come on, I would get very discouraged. But she's chosen instead to see what God has in store for her in all of this. And I think that's a very Christian reaction. As I shared in our interview, this is how Christians ought to react to difficulty, trials, tribulations, those sort of things. We say, God, why did you bring this? What is your plan? Because your plan is perfect. Romans 8:28. But we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, who are the called according to his purpose. If your calling is the purpose of God, which means you are a believer, then you should be happy for everything that happens, because everything that happens is according to his purpose, and it's all working towards that goal, or else God wouldn't have allowed it to happen. Remember when Satan came to Job and came to God and said, hey, I want to get Job. And God said, okay, you can do this, but you can't do that. You can't touch his body. And then Satan comes back and says, no, I want to go touch it. I want to do more. And he says, okay, you can go ahead and make him sick, but you can't kill him. God was restraining the devil so that the devil could only do the things that God knew worked into his perfect plan. Listen, God has a perfect plan for us. We must trust it. No matter who's the president, no matter what happens in this country and politics and all that, we trust God, we follow him, we find his purpose, and we serve him with all of our hearts. I'm so glad to hear that Joeylynn is doing that. Go see what you can do to help her, support her, encourage her in any way you can. At least look her up on TikTok and watch some of her videos. We'll see you next time right here on Point of View.